guys, today we are going to be doing part 2 of the 2003 Xterra knock sensor replacement. So as you can see, it's the next day. I don't feel like doing it all in one day. It does take probably around 8 hours, so I divided it in 2 days just so I wouldn't be stuck on it 100% of the time, because that can get kind of boring. But let's get to it. These little parts right here where the gaskets are going to seat, you want to make sure they're nice and clean. I don't know if you guys can see from there, but I already installed the knock sensor. It's pretty basic, just a 12mm bolt. Take off the old one, put the new one back in, hook it up. So now from here, we got to put the gaskets on and the lower intake manifold. So first of all, let's start off with the parts. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this is the intake manifold set. It's from Felpro. It comes with 2 intake manifold gaskets, which are the ones that the 2 that go right here. Here's a little bit visual on it. So these 2 just sit in there. And then the next one it comes with is the intake manifold upper, which is basically where the the supercharger, where that sits. So this is the gasket for that. And then the last piece that it comes with, the inlet tube to supercharger, which is basically what goes right here. As you can see there, that's the little gasket that goes right there. The only one that kit does not come with is one that goes right here on top of the intake manifold. I don't understand why, but nobody has them. Nobody has the same exact shape. The kits don't come with it. So I had to actually go to Nissan to order that part. So you guys can see there, same exact gasket. Basically had to order it from them. Had no other choice. They had similar ones, but I wanted to get the exact one that I needed. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by using the right stuff. It's basically gasket maker, gasket sealer, silicone. So I want to make sure that there will be no leaks or no parts where the gasket doesn't seal up properly. So you do not want to have to take it all apart again just because something didn't seal, especially around these water entrances. You don't want it to be leaking on the freeze. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now that we have the right stuff on there, go ahead and put the gaskets on there too. I love how the silicone holds everything in place so it's not moving around. It also helps out with that because you don't want to put it on there and then it moves around and it leaves a little gap in between. It's one of the other reasons why I like putting the right stuff on there. Let's move that out of the way a little bit. Move some of the stuff out the way. And go ahead and put a little layer on the top of this blue lines right here. You just want to put a little thin layer of this stuff. You don't really need too much. Just enough to where it covers up. Again, you don't have to do this. This is just me having an extra safety precaution. Okay, now that that's finished up, as you can see here, I have the lower intake manifold all cleaned up. Make sure that all this is nice and clean. You obviously can't clean it perfectly on the inside of this unless you leave it in degreaser for a day. But clean it up as good as you can. Clean up where the hoses go on and everything. Get some of that surface rust off of it. And let's go ahead and put this on. So that we put it in place, make sure to put on all these little washer things that they have. All 8 of them by hand. Nuts also. Okay, now that we put on all of them by hand, let's go ahead and tighten them. Let's do like a cross pattern to make sure everything bolts on properly. Now that we have the 4 6mm hex bolts tightened, let's go ahead and tighten these center 12mm nuts. Okay, now that we bolted those up, when we put this on, you guys should have remembered to put this hose on, where we took it off right here, where there's like a little clamp, hopefully. And then now what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this bolt that has like this little rubber thing on it and put it back on. It's the one that we took off from directly right here, basically down the center. It's a little 8mm bolt that we took off to be able to take off the lower manifold. So just go ahead and put it back on there. There we go. That's tight on there. Okay, now the next step that we have to do is put the fuel rail back on. So remember, I didn't remove it. You guys can remove it if you want, but I didn't want to disconnect the fuel lines and all that. Okay, I was having a little bit of a hard time putting on the injectors onto the seals, so I just went ahead and removed the seals from the lower manifold, and I literally put them on the injectors already, so that way it'll be easier to be able to sit it in there. You want to make sure you get in there and verify that all the seals didn't fall off or not put on correctly. Also, don't forget to put the little plastic spacers that go there to seat the rails. Okay, so these are the ones that we removed. They're 6mm hex bolts with washers. So, and then these are the little plastic spacers that go underneath the fuel rail where these bolts up. So let's go ahead and put those on. Again, you want to make sure you put them on by hand first. So let's go ahead and do all that. Okay, now that you have the plastic washers and the, hey, look, my glove rip, and the hex bolts on there. So as you can see, I moved this out of the way a little bit so it's not in my way. You might want to put the plastic washers on before you put the fuel rail, even though that'll probably be a little bit difficult too, because you're going to be moving them around and stuff. I had a little bit of a hard time, but let's go ahead and tighten these up now. And there we go, nice and tight on there. Okay, now that these main parts are on here, let's go ahead and hook up everything. So let's go ahead and hook up all the injectors back, all the stuff we disconnected. You want to make sure you want to hear all these injector connections click. We don't want none of them not on there properly, so it could cause a bad connection. This back one right here is probably going to be the most difficult one to get on there, since we didn't remove this part of the intake, but it's manageable. Everything's hooked up on there, so let's go ahead and hook up the water lines that we disconnected from the back of the intake manifold. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and put some of that silicone gasket stuff around where I'm gonna put the heater hoses and these little hoses that we disconnected from back here, because I do not want them leaking, so that'll help it get a better seal just in case something like that wants to happen. So you can either put it inside the hose if it's big enough, like this one. Just kind of spin around in there a little bit. And on the actual connection itself, just to ensure that it seals properly. You don't want to have a little leak way back here because we didn't take that extra precaution. Now that we have everything hooked up, we got the injectors, the fuel lines, these little water passages in the back of the intake manifold, the front one, the connections, and everything's bolted on there properly. Now the next step is to put on the half part of the intake. This is what we call the collector. You guys see I cleaned it up pretty nice. Cleaned up the bottom too. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing here. Put a little bit of the right stuff on here, and put the gasket in between, just to ensure that it seals properly. As you can see there, I put a little bit of silicone just in that little area. So let's go ahead and put the gasket on there. Try to line it up as best as we can. Just press it on there. Look at that, it stays right in place. Okay, we'll go ahead and put a little bit over the top right here again. Okay, so now that we have that on there, let's go ahead and place this on there, line it up. Line up as best you can. You can also use the bolts, all 10 bolts. Don't forget to hook up the little vacuum lines that we disconnected from the back. There's 2 of them. You want to go ahead and hook those back up. Okay, looks like they're both on there. And go ahead and clip this little red and blue wire that we unclipped, so that way they're not moving around everywhere. That one. If I can get them on there. There goes that one. Okay, let's go ahead and bolt them on using the 12mm socket. Let's go ahead and continue. Now what we are gonna do is go ahead and put some of that silicone around this area also, so we can get that proper seal on this also. Let's go ahead and put a little thin layer. Let's go ahead and put this gasket on there. Make sure you line it up well. Line up everything properly. Okay, let's go ahead and put a little bit more on this top part, just so it has a little thin layer at least. Okay, cleaned up the supercharger as best I could. It's a little heavy, so let's go ahead and sit it on there. bit. Kind of hold it in place. Okay. Set it on there a little bit. It's gonna move around a little bit. So let's put this gasket in also. Right in between here. Before we actually bolt up the supercharger. This gasket should be able to just slide right in there without any major problems. So let's go ahead and okay, now that we lined up all 9 bolts, put them in by hand, so let's go ahead and tighten it up. Don't tighten them up all the way yet, just go ahead and put them in just all the way down. Back one. Okay, let's go ahead and tighten them. Okay, now that we have it in place, we could have done this before, after, doesn't really matter. We can still get to them. So let's just put the wires back in, up to the spark plugs. I just didn't want the cables to be in my way when I was installing everything. So let's go ahead and put them on there. Okay, now let's hook up these little vacuum lines that we disconnected from here. And this little bypass valve, some call it. It basically works the same as a wastegate. Let's go ahead and just little clamps on. There was only 2 that went on here. Go. Now what we have to do is we're going to be working on putting the belt and the tensioner is basically all that's left. Okay, almost forgot about this little bracket right here, which goes bolted on right in between the supercharger and its inlet. So let's line it up. There's 4 little bolts in by hand. Let's go ahead and put this little bracket that we removed from right here. Basically holds all these little things in place. Just get that in there. To do that, we're gonna start off by putting in this bracket here again. Tensioner bracket. So just put it back where we took it off from. Bolts in. Cool. That one. And one more down here. So it's 2 bolts and 1 nut. Okay, it's on there a little loose. Let's go ahead and tighten it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and loosen the belt tensioner. So we're going to need a 14mm or a 9/16 wrench. I'm going to go ahead and grab it there, loosen it up a little bit. You don't need to loosen it up too much, just enough so it moves up and down a little. Okay, so now we just got to loosen this up a little bit. It's loose. Let's go ahead and put the belt on there. Okay, now that we have the belt on there, all you have to do is tighten it up. You want to go ahead and make sure not too tight, still a little bit flexible. Okay, you want it to be kind of tight, but still be able to twist it a little bit. That way it doesn't squeak or anything. Okay, now that we got that, now we just got to tighten that 14mm bolt. Let's go ahead and tighten that up. Okay. Okay, it looks like I forgot to put on this bracket, so I just want to go ahead and bolt it on there. And this little ground wire that it has, bolted up right underneath it, so we can make sure we have a ground to the supercharger. Guys, looks like we're almost done. Just gonna put this little cover right here that goes on the supercharger pulley. So it protects you from not touching it. Car's on, so let's put that in. Okay. And now we're doing the very last thing that we did first. Beginning of the video. Put these wires back on. So let's go ahead and put it all in place. Go there, go here, and tighten these two. Voila, we are done. Time to just start it up. Basically, all I did now was just fill up the radiator, because you know how we took it apart. Some of the antifreeze spilled. Just fill it up again. Looks like we are done. Ooh, it's hot outside. Been sweating all day. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, leave a like. Leave a comment down below in case you have any questions. I will try to answer them as fast as possible. Again, thanks for watching. Goodbye.